Facebook coin, eCoin, global coin, Libra, Calibra. The demon goes by many names, and yet the demon comes for us all the same. The only thing we can do is HODL our Bitcoin. Hodl, 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 for the demon will surely pass. So, Facebook announced Libra, their newest attempt at taking over the world. And I gotta say, it's pretty well thought out one. So I suppose first, I'll be making a few different videos on the whole Libra thing and different aspects of it. But I think I would like to first talk about the general concept and the theory and the motivations on why Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg are choosing to go this route now and why now all of a sudden. But first of all, hilarious play, Mark. Well done. We love the name Libra. Obviously, if anyone has seen The Social Network, great movie, by the way, we all know the story of how Mark absolutely zucked the Winklevi twins out of Facebook and stole the idea, made all the money. They got screwed. Winklevi twins, obviously, licking their wounds, went to find Bitcoin later on, and they made a hell of a lot of money on Bitcoin. They made their own exchange called Gemini. And of course, Mark Zuckerberg had to get a piece of the pie. He wants to own everything. So he had to name it Libra, another of the 12 astrological signs. Of course, the sign of Cancer is going to be the future Ripple rebrand. Don't tell them. Some insider info for you there. So I think the first thing I would really like to mention is really kind of talk and go into a little bit of depth on why Libra is generally dangerous. And this isn't dangerous so much for the established first world, let's say, but it is more insidious for the different areas of the world, perhaps the impoverished parts of the nation, the unbanked, as Facebook themselves so aptly put it. I think the first thing we need to accept, and the first premise that I would like to push forward, is that Facebook's modus operandi, their whole goal, their reason for existing at this point is to gain control. I mean, yes, they are a profit-driven company, but at a certain point, the profit really stops mattering, and it matters more about the information and the data that you possess and gaining more control, so on and so forth. And this is really a recurring story that it's not just Facebook. It's also Google. Google wants to own everything. Apple wants to own everything. Microsoft wants to own everything, so on and so forth, ad infinitum. And so Facebook they're all doing it in their own different ways. Some people are doing, so Google, for example, has their deep AI that pretty much they are only privy to. Apple obviously locks off their system from basically outsiders. It's almost like this kind of closed, gated community, weird vibe to it. And it's like, if you own an Apple product, you're like almost getting initiated into a cult a little bit. So sorry if you own an Apple product. No hate against Apple product, by the way. But what Facebook is doing, they started this initiative a few years ago, and what they did was they launched these like, they're not really like stealth planes, but they're like drones. And what these drones do is they fly over these areas in Africa and in other impoverished countries and nations. And what they do is they provide internet access. So you can connect to these for free, essentially. As long as you have a mobile device or a laptop, you can get free Wi-Fi. You can connect to the internet. And on paper, this is actually a great thing. I mean, this is pretty good. I mean, because a lot of the internet is one of the most valuable things in our society that we've created thus far. It is the most valuable tool. It has infinite information. It has infinite entertainment. It has the capability for individuals to collaborate across nations, across borders, across the four corners of the world, create things, develop things, contribute things, be a part of the world discussion. There's so many great things that the internet does. And so on paper, it's really great that Facebook is taking this initiative because they don't make any money off of this. They take this initiative and they say, well, we are going to provide internet access to these impoverished individuals, citizens, nations, countries that don't necessarily have the infrastructure there yet. Maybe they do have phones, but they don't yet have internet. Or maybe it's too expensive for them, or maybe they can't access it, so on and so forth. So on that part, sure, I applaud Facebook. Personally, I am a proponent of giving free internet to everyone. I do think internet at this point is almost certainly not necessarily a God-given right, but it is one of the basic necessities of life, or close to it. yes, you don't really need it to live, but you do kind of need it for a lot of other things. So it's almost like money, It doesn't really make you happiness, but it doesn't really make you happy, but it sure helps a hell of a lot to have. So Facebook is giving internet to these countries. On paper, it's good. However, the reason they're doing this, again, it goes back to the whole system of control thing. When these people were asked, when these citizens were asked, what do they think about the internet? They don't really know what the internet is. They do know what Facebook is. So if you want to access the internet now, you're not accessing the internet. Let's say you're in an impoverished country. You are accessing Facebook. And now Facebook has become the de facto standard for what the internet actually means for these individuals. And that is a little dark if you think about it, because it means that Facebook now has control over the mental mind space of what the internet actually is. One of the core tenets of society at this point certainly has been the rise and the dominance of the internet. And so to almost put your stamp on that and saying that it belongs to you, that it's yours, is, well, it's a little crazy to say the least, but that's what Facebook is doing. So on the internet level, they're doing this one thing, and it is commendable in some aspects, and again, slightly insidious in others. But Facebook is now moving to doing this at the monetary level. So when it was the internet, perhaps it was a little bit more benign, but now they're doing it at the monetary level. Now you have these Libra coins. You have this Libra cryptocurrency, this Libra digital money, which aren't really backed by anything. I mean, they're kind of like bonds, sort of, right? But and they're kind of backed by like an index of Facebook's stable coins and so on and so forth. And so it does have backing, kind of. But I think even in their white paper, they put a disclaimer out that said, we don't actually have to sell any of this to you. It's not like a one-to-one backing. It's not a one-to-one peg. It's just the backing of it, which is different. I mean, those words do matter, certainly. And so if you're just telling me it's backed, it doesn't necessarily mean that any of those funds will ever be committed or called in as necessary. So a little bit different from Tether, where Tether, you can actually redeem your Tethers. We don't yet know if you can really redeem your Libra, especially if you're just a citizen. If you're just a single user of Libra, can you really trade in your Libra for dollars or yuan or whatever? It's hard to say. We don't know yet. Chances are probably not. And so Facebook is doing this on the monetary level. And so imagine if instead of using US dollars, instead of having the full faith and credit of the United States to behind your currency, you were using the full faith and credit of Facebook, the full faith and credit of Mark Zuckerberg. He is the one who is basically judging the monetary standard, the monetary protocol, the monetary law, because he is now the one who owns Libra, who owns the very currency you use. And so there's a very famous, I think it's it's not a Rockefeller quote, I think it's a Rothschild's quote, and it goes something along the lines of, give me the control of a nation's bank and I care not for its laws. Right? Give me control of a nation's money and I care not for its laws. And it's very poignant. And I think it applies here. I think what Facebook is doing is they're looking to move in on the space that has previously been occupied by national currencies, and perhaps for weaker, especially impoverished third world countries where their monetary system is not very strong. It makes sense for Facebook and Mark, who want to rule over the world, to move in and almost supplant these systems these monetary systems with their own Facebook branded system. Because think about it this way, if you're in Venezuela, you have a choice. You can either hold Venezuelan bolivars or you can hold Libra. Which one are you going to want to hold? You're going to want to hold the one that actually has the backing behind it, the one that's not hyperinflating, the one that you don't have to take 10,000 pounds on a hay cart to the store to just buy a bag of beans, right? You're going to want the digital one. And so it causes this whole cascade that eventually what most of the people I talk to see with Libra is if it releases and if it goes as planned, which even that is debatable, because we're seeing governments kind of step in and give their own take on that and saying, well, no, hold on, you can't just do that, which I think is very wise for them to do, because I think they see the same problems that I see arising out of this whole Libra thing. If Facebook starts taking over, if Libra starts taking over 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, 20 different, 30 different countries in terms of their financial system, and everyone starts using Libra, who controls the countries at that point? Facebook. Facebook controls, because Facebook controls the monetary system. And so, like the famous quote said, the money is always going to rise above the law in that sense. And so I think we need to tread very carefully here with looking at Libra, as some people say it's a good thing for Bitcoin. Some people say it legitimizes blockchain, it legitimizes cryptocurrencies, and that's true to an extent. But it's also true that it is a very slippery slope. No, the slippery slope fallacy is not a fallacy. It is a real thing. But it is a slippery slope, and you have to be very careful with these things. And my personal opinion is that if I was a state government or a nation's government, I would not want this Libra thing to fly. I would not want it to launch. I would not want it to pose a threat to my monetary system. We have already seen what Bitcoin can do, and Bitcoin is going to be far less, let's say, toxic to monetary systems compared to something like Libra. So that's all I had to say this time. Let me know if you guys enjoyed the video. Please leave a like, leave some comments, subscribe if you want to see more, and give me some ideas. What would you like to hear me talk about? If you would like to hear me talk more about Libra, I can do more Libra videos, do perhaps a white paper review, so on and so forth. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you guys next time.